What are we doing?
I don't know.
All right, where do I want to start? Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So the name of this whole project is called the Lifestyle Project. So essentially, the theme running throughout this whole thing is trying to formulate like a style to life that's authentic and that you can pursue in this game called life. So like think it through the lens of like gamifying life and then finding yourself through it. Okay. So
Hell yeah.
it's called the Lifestyle Project. Reflecting how everyone has a different style to life, and it's up to us as the individual to try to figure out what that style is. And through the power of introspection, self-awareness, we can figure that out. So going on the journey with Yada, there's some prerequisites to the game, and the big thing that you want to always keep in mind before pursuing the game is that acceptance is priority. Acceptance of yourself, acceptance of the moments, experiences, people that you come across with. The entire journey, you are staying present in the moment, accepting everything that comes your way. So that's going to be an important thing to keep in mind. I like to frame it so you have peace and progress. So in times of stress, you find your outlets through meditation or acceptance and like being present. And then you counter that with the progression. So it's kind of like the divine feminine and masculine, the two opposing forces where as you're playing the game, there's going to be times where you need acceptance to prioritize, and then there's other times where you need to prioritize progression with like setting goals, like doing the grind, like working hard, like going out and doing uncomfortable things. So it's always finding that balance between the two things. Okay, so just to start with the Google Doc, I'm just going to write peace versus progress.
Okay. Are you going to be the Google Doc writer?
It's up to you, whatever sticks better. I have another Google Doc open at the same time that just kind of frames out all the stuff we're going to be covering.
Okay.
Granted, this is my first time doing this with anyone, so I don't really 100% know what I'm doing, but we'll figure it out as we go.
We're testing it all out. I'm just wondering if I should have the Google Doc open or if I should just focus on you. Which maybe like we could test it out a couple of different times.
I think it would be cool if we just kind of collaborate with it. I want to approach this where it's not just me telling you as like an educator, but that we're working together and trying to come to resolutions and creation together as we do this.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
And also by doing this, you're helping me build out the framework as far as like what's going to be most effective that could possibly help other people as well.
I'm just writing masculine is what I need help with, definitely. That one. Yep. Pretty masculine and feminine.
So,
which you can reformat. This is just how I type.
So, just like yin and yang, they're always in balance. The masculine and feminine are always in balance as well. So if one of them is out of whack, then it can create disruptions in the other. So even though maybe, and this is just food for thought, even though maybe you're focusing on the masculine, that's what you need to get better. Maybe it's looking at the feminine and finding acceptance within yourself so then you can pursue with more confidence.
That makes sense.
So the feminine is always like the internal peace that you find within. It's the internal strength, while the masculine is the external. It's what you're extroverting out into the world and what you're experiencing with other people or trying to put out your creations, but the feminine is internal creation. And that's like the internal visions that you have, and like the intuition, the things that you feel that resonate with you. And then it's trying to pursue that out in the external world with the masculine.
Mm.
And those are very, they piggyback off each other, because it's like, if you don't have internal strength, then it's hard to pursue externally if you don't have that self-confidence, right?
Right. Yep. The lesson of 2020.
Okay, so going over the practicality stuff, I'm just gonna go over like a quick overview of what we're gonna be covering with the lesson plan. So the objectives. This is what I just have as my notes for stuff we're gonna be covering, or like the learning objectives.
Okay.
I think I like that better. Okay. The quality looks good. Super good.
Good. Yes.
Background blur enabled. Okay, so objectives. What we're trying to do is collaborate together to learn more about yourself, learn more about how the world works, trying to come to reality, trying to come to acceptance of yourself and how the world interacts with yourself and your authenticity, learning how to level up and what that means to you, and learning how to stay in the game, how to maintain that well-being and mental health to continue the pursuit in the journey, and learning how to ultimately find well-being and fulfillment. Some prereqs, we just went over it. Meditation, hugely important, because that's what's going to give you that internal strength so you can continue the pursuit. So like we said, peace and progress, there's always that balance between the two. And if we're not keeping meditation as priority, and this could be not just like sitting there doing but it's like journaling or trying to build that internal strength within, whether it's trying to like feel your emotions, feeling the suffering that comes with it, not just the bad, not just the good, but accepting and recognizing the totality of it. And then another one, which is another important aspect, is like we said, self-acceptance, but then also taking personal responsibility. And that's where we find that progression, and that's the more masculine side of things. Okay, so do you have any questions before we get into the different aspects or different parts of this whole thing? No.
Nope.
All right, so first, like we said, meditation, but then once we actually get into, okay, so this is good to highlight. So again, staying with the theme of peace and progress. So what I'm going to be talking about now is a lot of the progress part of it. The peace is more in line with the meditation, and that's something that is like the self-acceptance, coming to terms, finding emotional regulation. But this side of the plan is more about the progression. So how we, how do I put it? Oh, this is probably good. Like spirituality and ego. So like spirituality is the acceptance part, and ego is like the character that you're creating in this game of life. And so I think something that's important is learning how to develop that ego. So like they always talk about in spirituality, like let go of the ego. Well, no, this is actually like learning how to understand your ego and integrating it into the world so that it can be useful or as a tool to carry out as like a vehicle with your authenticity. But again, there's times where you get overly stressed because you're getting in grips with the ego, which is basically the character that you're trying to create within this world. And so you need that meditation to find an outlet in. Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, these are complex topics, and I just need to like get a gauge of like where you're understanding it with all this.
Yeah. The only thing with the ego stuff is that That one's gonna take me a bit, I think, because I'm like, what I've been learning about it is like, hold on. Just that like a lot of it gets in the way.
So
and maybe it's like a certain kind of the ego that gets in the way. Or that's like negative or something, but it's the only way that I'm learning that is through the Eckhart Tolle book. But I do understand the acceptance bit of it, because like in like the other sessions that I'm doing, I essentially like part of the ego, which is, or the inner critic, I call it the creature. And that is like it's a relationship of that I have been building as one of acceptance of it, and also like not giving it the power, which I think ego has been given. I think, yeah, this is just feel like ego is in what you're describing. I like want like a different word.
Yeah.
Just because
So
I feel
I
like
think
it's wrapped with so much.
There's a lot of bias already incorporated into it because it's used so broadly and it's an abstract concept. So let me just give you context around like what I'm talking about with this ego.
Okay.
This definition of ego with this specific project. So it's essentially like, have you ever played a role-playing game? Or like Dungeons and Dragons, World of Warcraft, like RuneScape.
RuneScape, yeah.
RuneScape. Okay, yeah. So with RuneScape, you create a class, or like in Sims, like you're at the menu, you're creating your character, you're curating the attributes, your personality, like your job, like all these things that make up that character. That's the ego in this terms. Yeah. So spirituality is when you imagine erasing that entire character and just going out and just being like third person or like blank screen. That's like the acceptance bit. Like how this is abstract, it's hard to explain, but it's like when you come into grips with the ego, it's almost as if your spirit gets controlled by that character in the game. And then you're like, okay, I'm judging myself. Like I feel internal conflict. I can't get out of it. But then when you like meditate and like have acceptance, that's when you kind of get out of that character and you just kind of view it as like a third person point of view, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Can you say that all again? Can you say it all again? I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm kind of distracted today, so I just went, just say it all again. Please.
So essentially it's like you're creating a character in a video game, and the spirit, which is the spirit can either be inside of that character or it can be outside and viewing that character as a third person point of view. So it is kind of like dissociating. Like I think meditation in terms of like you're kind of dissociating from the character that you're creating. Like we're living in, let's say, a video game, so to speak, and you're trying to curate this character, this being that you're pursuing out into this world. But when you need the acceptance, that's when you kind of take yourself out of this character and just view, like what they say, just view things as it is. Does that make sense? Okay, so like this whole project or program is geared towards trying to view your character as it's a separate being. It's still you, but it's like viewing it as a third person point of view, so then you can not have judgment over yourself, but you can still curate a character of whether it's like who you are, who you relate to, who you authentically like vibe with the most, while also creating an ideal for that, so to speak. So think of it as in like we're on Sims right now, or we're on a role-playing game, and we're like creating that character of who you are, so to speak.
Okay.
And I think that's important too, like kind of dissociating
That's
yourself.
what the ego is? Is the ego like the character?
The ego is the character, yeah. And spirituality is during those times of stress where you're gripped by that character, where you can let go and you see that character as just a third person point of view kind of thing.
Got it. So ego is when it's like all embodied, and spirituality is like zoomed out, big picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then we're getting into basically like ego creation, which is, or like, I think a better term would be character creation. So the different aspects of that is.
You're just writing that for me. I said I'm just.
Say what?
I just wrote those for me.
So the different aspects, first one is self-awareness. So getting awareness or being conscious of the character that you're creating, and the things that make up that is personality, your strengths, your weaknesses, your skills, your interest, things you value, things you believe in, your ideology. Mm-hmm. So what does that character, if you were to create this character of yourself, what would all of these aspects be contained within? And then the next one is, once you have an idea of what that character embodies, then you can have the ability to create a process around those skills, around those values. So it's really important to understand what you believe and what you value, or what your character believes and what they value, because then you have direction, and it's all internal then, because now you're not basing your values off of society anymore, but based off of what your own internal compass is guiding you to. So I think it's important to be consciously aware of what your values are, because then you can have a better idea of like what your goals are, what your behavior is, and all these things are in alignment then, if you know what your beliefs and values are. So I just have here directed by self-awareness, value acquisition, creating a vision and mission statement. So this is similar to like creating a business, which is like if you create a business, you're writing your vision and value mission statement, those kind of things. Like, so essentially,
bylaws for yourself.
yeah, essentially. This is basically like if we get into the more the down here in the, where is it? It's basically like creating a personal brand. Right?
Yeah.
Sorry?
I was just saying, I feel like this is a really fun approach that a lot of people will vibe with.
Hopefully.
So kudos.
Woo! But yeah, it's sort of like approaching it from a fantastical point of view, where it's I think that makes it less intimidating, because it's not about like, oh, what is your life goal and everything like this, and the world's of the weight of the world's on your shoulders, but instead just like, life's a game, like you can't fuck up, we're out here having fun, like this is about trying to figure out what gives you the most satisfaction and fulfillment in life. And then just let that guide you. But
plus in the end, what? I said, plus in the end, like, I think, I forget who said it, but like everybody is going to like be a brand, or like have a like event, like that's where the economy is going or something, like each person having their own business.
Yeah, I definitely 100% agree with that. I think economically speaking, we have a lot of opportunity right now, and the opportunity is only going to get more and more, to the point where, what if we have universal basic income? Like, what if somehow we don't have to work to meet our basic needs? Like, what else are you going to be doing with your time? And I think at that point, where we don't have to work to meet our basic needs, then everyone will have to like figure out their own personal brand, mission, whatever it is that they want to do. That's like authentic. Totally.
Yeah. Cool. I cut you off.
No. Basically, yeah. So just like coincide with the business kind of view of this. It's like you're creating a personal brand for yourself. And philosophically speaking, it's like gaining that self-awareness of who you are, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next one. So first part is self-awareness. Second part is process setting. That's where you like figure out like your values and your goals and directed all by your self-awareness. Then the third part is emotional intelligence. So as you're pursuing your goals and your vision, there's obviously going to be times where you're under stress and you're going to feel discontent. You're going to get down on yourself. So how do you get through those things? So that's what this section's all about, like emotional understanding, finding spirituality within all that, the meditation kind of stuff. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that so I don't like cut you off again. But are you kind of like reading the syllabus right now? The syllabus, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can send this to you.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Probably would make sense for you to read along with me. So I just sent it to you.
Thank you.
I made you into a viewer, so you're not gonna be able to edit it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Are we?
We're on number 3, emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And as far as material for this is all I have. Just the general framework outline of it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
And then I think another good one to highlight is intentions versus expectations. So intentions are things that are within your control. Expectations aren't. They're out of your control. And so the difference with that is intentions. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to go to the gym. Expectations. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Not realistic, out of your control. The thing you can control is waking up every morning, getting into the habit, getting into the routine, and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you focus on expectations, the more you start to lose control and the more you start to lose yourself.
Mm. Mm. Well, that's good. These little descriptions that you say. Sorry. These little descriptions that you say in this recording call, I think it would be awesome to write it down. I mean, if in the future you're eventually going to if you're going to share this with everybody who goes through your program, but I don't know if you will or not, or if it'll just be you kind of keep it to yourself and then wherever how it runs and you guide it will happen. But the way that you're describing each thing is really good. So, because yes, that is all. Continue, take back the mic.
Drop the mic.
Yes.
Okay, so the next one is motivation. So how do you stay motivated? And a lot of this is being conscious of what your beliefs and values are. So instead of trying to force yourself to do certain behaviors, instead of focusing on the behavior of what you're doing, you're focusing on who you are and what you represent and why you're doing it. Those are way more motivating than I'm doing this because I need to get some followers or some shit. It's creating an internal framework that's very, very powerful. And the only way you can do that is through introspection, understanding who you are, understanding your values, and the motivation will come. It will be a force. And then the next one is self-therapy, which is just journaling throughout the entire process, which also coincides with number 5, which is documentation. So this is creating multimedia content, whether it's writing, blogging, journaling, blogging, any form of media that can capture the experiences that you're having throughout this whole process. And that also will reflect in your personal brand, your business, whatever you want to do with that, as far as like ad revenue or sponsorships, blah, blah, blah. But it's about documenting the experiences. You don't have to go overboard with it, but things that really resonate with you, maybe it'd be a good idea to document that. And I think it's better to frame it in a way where you're doing it for yourself rather than you're doing it because you need followers, you need likes, whatever it may be. But you're doing that because that's who you are and that's what you believe in. And also, it's something you can look back on and be like, oh, I did this and I'm improving, or I need to work on this, this, and this.
Cool.
Next, number 4, health and wellness. So this is all about self-care. So nutrition, dieting, exercise plan, self-care. Again, common theme, meditation. So as far as health and wellness goes, specifically with meditation, so I think it's also important to note that we can meditate at any point during the day. You don't have to sit down and meditate on your own, shutting the lights off, closing your eyes. But instead, you can meditate while you're writing up your blog, while you're driving to the car, going to get groceries. It's all about trying to stay focused on your breath and finding control in your breath. And then that will help regulate your emotions. So you don't need to sit down and it's all about being present. So with whatever you're doing, being present in that. And the way you can find presence is through your breath. So like you're saying, you're reading Eckhart Tolle. He touches up upon that a little bit too. So this is actually something that I think a lot of people jumpstart to if they are trying to start a business, and then they get lost. So as you can see, it's number 6. It's almost it's second to last. So there's a lot to do before you start going out into the world and having that exploration. And the reason why is because you don't know yourself. You don't know what your values are. You don't know what your direction is. So you're out here in the world running around aimlessly without a sense of who you are. And then you get caught up into distractions, into what other people are doing, comparison game. Why are they doing this? Why do they have this? Why can't I have this? It's not about that. It's about understanding who you are and what you want. But you can use community as a tool. You can network with other people as a tool to help pursue your own authenticity. But I think it's important to know where you have shared interest, like what service value you're providing, how your communication is with other people, like what kind of what way you want to present yourself out to the world, and then also what industries you can. And this kind of goes along with the business side of things, but like what environments or locations or industries that you resonate with that will be to your that will align with your own authenticity. And then number 7 is personal finance. So this is just getting a macro understanding of economics, understanding like how you can get multiple streams of revenue, how you can monetize things that you're doing. In this, number 7 is optional. So I do think that 1 through 6 can provide well-being and fulfillment without having number 7, but this is just if you want to find ways of profiting off of your own authenticity. So having a good understanding of money and what value you're providing, if you want to have products, merchandise, how you can market yourself, sales, and also investing into stocks, real estate, assets, blah, 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 as like a way to create financial freedom.
This should all be taught in school. Oh my gosh.
So
wow. Yeah.
Wow,
I'm so grateful that you asked to do this.
Actually.
What?
So one thing that I've made connections with is that all of these different parts is social sciences. So whether it's philosophy, psychology, sociology, economics, political science, like all of these different aspects that we're going through is covering bits and pieces of social sciences. So yeah, this is just a way to target it to the individual and how you can create. The ultimate goal is well-being and fulfillment. So how you can use those sciences to your advantage to create the life that you want to create or the character that you want to create.